So I'm necessarily a fan.
Not necessarily a fan. What are football fans online saying about the proposed changes? Well, joining me in the studio is the Football Ramble podcast, Marcus Speller. Marcus, what do you think?
Well, I think it'll be, personally, I think it's a bit of a silly one because...
tell me why.
Well, it just sounds a bit gimmicky, you know, and it reeks of kind of American sports as well, this sort of sin bin.
Well, it reeks
idea.
of rugby union, actually. It works well for them.
very true, yeah.
So it's not exactly a gimmick, it's just transferring from code to code, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this will be an unpopular decision amongst football fans, but maybe, like as you say, you know, rugby union, it's worked there. Initially, I think people will be a bit sceptical. I mean, but the thing...
I mean, the significance, don't let me overplay the significance. I think in rugby union to be one man down is probably, I think it'd be fair to say, more significant on the play and the power and the strength you've got on the side than it is in football. I mean, you often see sides with 10 men because one's been sent off and they do very well, don't they?
Well, absolutely, yeah. But the thing is with diving, there is already punishment there. You know, this is not like if you're arguing with the referee, take the free kick back 10 yards like we've seen there. There's already a punishment. You get yellow carded for diving and maybe even sent off if already on a yellow. So they're really trying to clamp down on diving.
But isn't that perhaps making referees reluctant to use the yellow card sanction? Because I think, oh, was it a really bad dive? Was it might have been a dive? So they hesitate.
I think so, yeah. I think diving is very... it's a controversial one because one man's dive is another man's penalty, which is always going to be a big talking point. But there was one thing that I think was coming from Germany, actually, that there were suggestions that why not actually, if the player who goes down under a foul, the referee asks the player, did you dive? Now, if the player says, yes, I did dive, then nothing is given.
Well, they're not going to admit that,
well,
are
but
they?
if they say, I didn't dive, and the penalty is given, then later they look at the video replay and think he dived and then big punishment. So almost turning the decision onto the football player and giving the referees a little bit more leeway and less pressure on them. And I think putting a bit of moral code in football might be an interesting one.
It's an interesting idea. More of that in a moment. Let's just bring in Graham Poll, who we spoke to a little bit earlier, former Premiership and World Cup ref, of course. This is what he said.
And what I like about it is it punishes the team that have been sinned against. All too often we see a player suspended and lo and behold he's suspended against one of the team's rivals. So if Man United play Arsenal, for example, if it was a Premier League game, an Arsenal player does something wrong, he goes in the sin bin, Man United benefit immediately. That's why I like the idea of a sin bin.
There was a blog running on one of the sites here, which is running a poll. Most people on this one, if you actually take the poll, is actually saying yes, it would be a good idea. I mean, let's see if we can try and be internationalist about this. I know we have a problem, or some people perceive it's a problem in British football. But if it's a problem here, it's a much bigger problem elsewhere. Well, yeah. And we're talking about the World Cup here. So what nations do you think will be particularly challenged if this came in? Well,
I've been fortunate enough to go to places like Spain and even some places in Argentina, in South America, sorry, such as Argentina, to watch football. And there is a culture of diving. They actually, if you dive and you get away with it, that's seen as well done. You deceived. That was good play. You know.
Hey, you cheated and you got some advantage.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if a 5-minute deterrent will, do much for them. But
it's interesting they've only gone for 5 minutes. Do you think that would make much difference in a football game?
I think 10 minutes would probably be a better solution or a better idea, certainly. But it is interesting. With 5 minutes, it could be a good start because often, if the decision is wrong, then perhaps the manager won't complain so much because it is a minor punishment, if you like. Only 5 minutes. They can kind of recoup after that.
And we think the ref himself is going to make the decision rather than the assistant referees, or...
Well, I think the referee will obviously take the lead, but who knows? Other referees, assistants could get involved.
Plenty to talk about.
Absolutely.
Good to see you. Thank you very much indeed, Marcus Speller there. Now then, let's bring you more information on a breaking news story tonight. More developments on the human remains that were found at the site of a